Welcome to another episode of No Bolts Left Behind. My name's Barry, and beside me I have my recently purchased 1968 Ford Mustang. And today I want to pick up where I left off in the last episode, finish up the wiring in the engine bay, basically get this thing prepped for fuel injection, which should be coming very, very soon. Alright, let's get started. Alright. First thing is to mount this little fuse relay block thing. This should let me run like fuel injection, a Bluetooth stereo, stuff like that. A few other little gadgets I have planned. I'm thinking I want it to go right here between the shock tower and the battery tray. I'm thinking I could use the battery tray to kind of build a little mount for it. And I think it's a perfect spot because it's close to the power source and it's kind of tucked out of the way, but still, accessible when I need to get to it. It came with some little mounting tabs. I think I can make these work with a little bit of modification. Alright, simple as that. I think I'm gonna go ahead and hit all these brackets with primer and black paint just to kind of blend them in a little bit more, but we'll call that done. Alright, cool. Fuse block mounting is done. And I'm just gonna give that guy a little time to dry. In the meantime, now that we know where our wires are gonna need to route, let's get started on the Bluetooth stereo. My plan for this guy is to have a completely hidden setup. All the controls like volume, pause, and skip will all be done on your phone. And I'm gonna try and build everything into the trunk. So my plan here is to hook up a little Bluetooth adapter directly to a normal 2-channel car amplifier back here. And then hook up a couple of 6x9 speakers directly into it. I'm not a huge fan of the amp on display and hanging out or whatever. So I'm gonna tuck everything up, Bluetooth, all that stuff, and a pair of 6x9s in this package tray up in here. I can already see that the cutouts are there, but it looks like this sort of whatever cardboard package tray board, whatever is covering the speakers. And instead of buying a new one, I'm definitely just gonna cut this thing. On the inside here, it's kind of just like carpet material, so I'm not sure if just cutting it's going to be enough or if I'm going to have to cut out some carpet material and maybe put a speaker grill in there or something. So let's start by pulling out this package tray, and then we'll get access to mount the amp, the speakers, and we'll see what we're dealing with. Alright, that was pretty easy, considering that the seat was not bolted down. It doesn't seem like this thing's bolted down either, so that's one good thing about buying a project car. Oftentimes they're not fully bolted together. I gotta say, this thing is in such good condition. You can really see the rear window channel here looks like, from this angle anyway, I guess the outer lip is a different story, but from this angle it really looks like it's in good condition. That's super good to see. It's this is a really common rust area. I dealt with a lot of rust in this general area on my Challenger and every single classic car I've ever worked on. I would say that it's actually kind of rare to see this intact. That's super cool. All right, well, let's get that amp mounted. Let's get the speakers mounted and maybe start thinking about wiring. perfect. Got this guy mounted in there right in these, I guess factory holes, unless somebody drilled those out at one point. I'm assuming those are the factory holes. And as you can see, it's just below the level there with those rubber spacers you can see right there. All right, gonna throw this side in and then we can wire these guys up. Got it all set up, wired up in there, and all hidden, which is like definitely what I was going for. So even if you kind of like crouch down and look into the trunk, you don't really see the speakers. So the last thing I want to do is wire in this Bluetooth. I guess the last thing besides running a power wire, which I don't have yet, but it's in the mail today. So I suppose maybe like today or tomorrow I can run that power wire all the way up to my new fuse block up there. For now, I'd like to get this guy mounted somewhere, and I guess there's really not much to it. Let's pull this out of the box. All right, so pretty simple little device. Pretty much just a power wire, a ground wire. Then we have the two RCA inputs, which of course plug in there, right there. All right, so let's work on this door. Actually, both doors, but we'll start with this door first. There's actually a lot of things I need to fix on this guy. One thing I need to do is change out the locks, because I actually don't have this door key here. So I also want to add power locks and keyless entry, because this kit here that I got does of course have an alarm, keyless entry, all that stuff. So I'll have to set that guy up in there, you know, wire it up, run wires under the dash, all that stuff. I do want to replace these door handles because they're really in terrible condition. But I got a fresh set right here, so we'll go ahead and swap those guys out. And most importantly is this door latch here. This door actually does not close, or I guess it does close, but it doesn't stay closed. It doesn't latch. So there's definitely something wrong with this. It kind of feels like it's okay, like everything feels tight, but it doesn't want to stay latched. So I'm guessing there's some kind of like clip or a spring missing in this guy. So hopefully I'll be able to fix this, but they do sell replacements. So all right, let's take this guy apart first, and we'll see what we're dealing with. All right, it took quite a while to get this thing out of there. But the good news is, I think this guy is fixable. I think the problem here is just that it's missing a spring going from like right here to right here, holding this guy up and keeping this door latched until you open the door. Until you open the door, there we go. And this thing is able to flip open. But this is actually always supposed to have pressure so that when it latches, just like that, it stays latched and it's not able to fall open and open back up. So I have a box of old springs. Hopefully I can find something that'll basically just stretch over here and keep this guy closed. All right, I actually did have a spring that was kind of perfect for this thing. It's probably like an old carburetor spring or like a throttle return spring or something, but seems to be the perfect length and tension to basically keep this thing latched. The door still unlocks pretty smoothly, but more importantly, when you latch it now, just like that, it stays latched. All right, I think I got everything back together. Let's take this thing for a spin. Door shuts. Door opens. That's good. Let's try the lock. Door does lock. And unlocks. Sweet. Now the very last thing I want to do in here is to try and set up a power lock actuator, which is this guy right here. And this is a pretty simple device. It just pushes in, pushes out when you apply voltage. Basically there's a rod going down from the door latch to this door locker here. So the idea is to connect this rod here, which will do like a up and back down. I think this one's going to be a little extra challenging because this is kind of a unique door. It actually only has kind of a small inner door panel, and there isn't a lot of access to the parts. I can really only fit my arm through this hole just barely. And you know, typically I would probably mount this guy somewhere like that. I would have a couple holes here, and then you know the door panel would cover everything. But in this case, I have to mount it within this kind of like triangular area here. So it's going to be at a little bit of an angle. But you know, you can actually bend this rod to kind of contort to where you want it to go, and then hopefully you get enough of a up and down action, even if it's at an angle. I don't even know what the first step is. I guess I'm gonna try and start bending this rod into shape, and we'll see if we can get it lined up somewhere. All right, I kind of ended up with this shape right here. Ideally, you'd have your power popper like very, very straight, but man, there just is no place over here to put this guy. I'm gonna give this a try. It's gonna kind of push. It's gonna kind of push at this angle, but I'm hoping that, you know, it's enough to guide it up. I guess we'll find out. All right, I got my battery here. I got the wires here, and everything's hooked up. So let's give it a try. Moment of truth. All right, it does work. Here, I'll demonstrate here. Tap this guy here. Oh, we'll flip it. All right, tap this guy here. Locked, and we'll switch them up. Unlock. Sweet, it works. All right, it's a new day, and man, it's really exciting to come out here and see this perfectly opening and closing door. And you know, I noticed too that the alignment on this door is actually really, really good. It's really hard to achieve on these old cars, or at least it takes a lot of time to get everything aligned right, but this one looks pretty spot on, so that's good. That will save me half a day of alignment and all that stuff. So last night I got my big spool of wire. This is 10 gauge, 100% copper, 50 foot of wire. So that'll wire there and back maybe about 5 times. But I'm gonna run 2 big wires back there. One for our newly installed amplifier and Bluetooth. And I'm gonna go ahead and run another for our soon to be electric fuel pump when we switch over to fuel injection. I'm also gonna run a backup camera wiring harness. So I got a pretty big bunch of wires to get put in this thing. Let's get started. we got these wires pulled through here. That was very tedious. There is like a big heater box right there, so it's not a very easy passage into the firewall, but I guess we need to figure out a place we're gonna run this and up to the fuse block. Definitely put some wire loom on this guy to protect it. And then we'll start thinking about how we're gonna get that rat's nest of wires all the way around and up into the amp area, and then down actually through the bottom of the car and near the gas tank where my fuel pump's gonna end up. So next we got to figure out how to route this wire up here. And I did put some just some plastic loom up to the firewall just because I know like heater boxes get hot and you know, you never know up there. So, and I was thinking I would go, you know, under the carpet, but you know, the carpet gets stepped on obviously a lot and that's what carpet's for. So I think if I come right up here, I go through this hole, I can actually run it right along this channel here, which is pretty much just like a wire channel. And of course that metal piece of trim will go over this and this will be totally protected. And of course there's already a wire there going to something, taillights or something. So I'm gonna go ahead and tape up probably most of this harness here, just spinning electrical tape. It's gonna take me a minute here. And we'll start to run this guy along here. And then I do see some access down there. It's kind of hard to see, but basically behind this panel here, and it'll go right to the amp and right down to the fuel pump. Got this thing ran through the channel, got it coming through the door frame over here, through the factory location, following the factory tiny little wires all the way back. And I made sure any place that the wire was going to encounter some like possible sharp metal there and through here, I made sure to put this abrasion resistant loom here. Same goes for up there. I got that one protected all the way up into the dashboard. Very important. I gotta say too, like the more I peel back from this car, the more happy I am at how good the condition is. Man, when I did the same thing with my Challenger, started pulling off interior panels, it was so rusty. And there's so much just perfect metal in here. And it's nice, but it's kind of sad to see the original, you know, painted metal, because from what I can tell from the data tag, this car was originally Wimbledon white, which is one of my very favorite Mustang colors. So I'm happy that it was originally like a very cool color, but I'm kind of sad that it got painted over this gray. So when the time comes to repaint this guy, I'm thinking maybe I should go back to the original white. All right, well, that's it for this episode. I think we can call the wiring pretty much done. In the next episode, I'm gonna ditch this tiny little 1-barrel carburetor and swap it out for a fuel injection setup. And hopefully this thing will run a little bit better. I guess better than it is. All right, see you next week.